Let's talk demo lesson ideas. So if you haven't heard before what a demo lesson is, it's basically what it sounds like. You're maybe in the middle of the interview process, you've done a first round interview, and they say, oh, you know what? Could you come back and teach us a 10-minute demo lesson just to give us an idea of, you in action? We're going to look at some 10-minute demo lesson ideas, but don't worry, all of them are things that you could stretch to be a little bit longer in case you're one of those people who has a 20-minute demo lesson coming up. In case we haven't met before, hey, my name is Ashley, aka Señorita Spanish, where I provide easy-to-use resources to save you time and energy while you're lesson planning. In this case, you're demo lesson planning. If you're new here, you might not know that I try to make sure that I link everything that I've mentioned down in the description box below to help you out. Demo lesson ideas, because you might be going, I don't know what they want. So first off, sometimes they tell you we want a lesson on topic. If that's happened to you, I highly recommend heading over to my channel and using the search bar to say Gustar, right? And you can find a video that I've done with Gustar activities, and you can use that to help you as you're planning your demo lesson. Sometimes they don't give you a topic and they just say, oh yeah, come teach us something. And you're like, what level of students? What have they done so far? Like all of those sorts of background pieces of information you want as you're planning. Sometimes they don't give you those. I do recommend that you ask those questions when they invite you to do a demo interview. And, I've shared that and some other tips for demo lessons in my video here. Specifically for this, we're going to share lesson ideas for things that are so in the air that you are like, I don't know, like, do they speak Spanish? Here's some lesson ideas you can use for that whole spectrum. First idea for you is card talk. And if you're not familiar with card talk, I've shared about it in my first day of school video. And I actually shared about it in the Gustar lesson plans. One of the nice things about this is that you don't even really need technology to do this lesson, which makes the demo lesson so much less stressful. So card talk is super, super, super simple to apply to literally any topic. But the way that it works is each of your students is going to have a sheet of paper. You're going to fold it in half. I recommend that you have them write their names really largely on the front side of the sheet of paper. And on the other side of the sheet of paper, you're going to have them illustrate something. And this is kind of up to you and what you feel comfortable with and any guidelines that you've received from your demo lesson instructions. You could do foods they like to eat. You could do activities they like to do. You could do 3 things they did last weekend. Literally anything that they might like to talk about, they're going to illustrate on the back of their little folded tent. So they've written their names and they've illustrated on the back of their cards. So on the whiteboard, you're going to put some scaffolding. And again, it's going to depend a little bit on what you ask them to illustrate. So if, for example, you ask them to illustrate things that they enjoy doing, you might write up me gusta, le gusta, no le gusta. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to talk. You're going to do some PQA. So you're going to find somebody who has a card that's got a pretty clear cognate. Lots of sports are easy cognates, and chances are you're going to have at least one student who wrote a sport of some kind on their card. And don't be afraid to over scaffold. Use the whiteboard that you have, and just like anything that you think that they might not know, because again, you don't know them, you're going to support by just writing it on the board, and that's just fine. And then you're going to ask questions like, do you do this a lot? Do you do this a little bit? Does anybody else like to do this, right? You're going to ask questions, circling and triangling the information that you get and pulling in more information. Whenever you're getting close to the end of your time, you are going to do a quick Spanish comprehension check. And there's 2 options I really like to do for card talk. Option 1 would just be to do a write and discuss, which is exactly what it sounds like. So you might start with that first student, right? Billy Bob likes activity. You're writing in Spanish, you're speaking in Spanish. And then you're going to say something like, estudiantes, ¿a quién más le gusta? Whatever that activity was. And they're going to help you kind of fill in the blanks and summarize the discussion all together. So you're going to get a feel for what they remember and what they heard and what they understood, because they're going to be filling in that blanks with you. You're going to be doing the writing. You might scaffold it a little bit by asking them questions and that sort of stuff. But by the end, you're going to have a pretty decent sized paragraph talking about whatever you talked about. Another option I really like to do is kind of a quick comprehension quiz, and I have a video on my channel where I share my 2 favorite Spanish comprehension quizzes, and we're going to steal one right from that video. You can go check out that video for more details, but the short of it is that you're going to do a true and false quiz. Remember, this is not meant to be stressful. You're just checking for understanding. So you're going to give everybody a little slip of paper that says cierto o falso on it 5 times, and then you're just going to make statements based on the information you discussed. You might repeat the question a couple times. You're going to be circling the room and keeping an eye on people just so you get a feel for when they're done. But it's a really easy, quick, formative assessment that you can then use to discuss after the demo lesson to say, hey, look, they actually got something from this lesson. They learned this about their classmates. Okay, I promised more than one demo lesson idea, so let's get into another one here. I'm not going to take all your time explaining each and every single one of them, but that one I don't have a separate video on, so I wanted to make sure I gave you a little bit more background. The next idea I have for you is a movie talk, and just like with card talk, movie talks are really easy to kind of flex the language that you're using so that way you can make sure you're addressing the needs of whoever is in front of you. You're going to find a short clip, like less than 5 minutes, very short, and you're going to talk about it in comprehensible language for your students. If you're new to this idea, make sure you check out my video here that walks you through exactly how to do this strategy. I also have several movie talks I've shared on this channel before, all the resources you need, everything that you could use to do this activity with your class during a demo lesson. Picture talk is very similar to movie talk. You're going to take a picture and you're going to talk about it in comprehensible language. I also have a video where I detail how I like to do this activity, but that's another great option where you can easily level up or level down the language based on who you have in front of you once you find out who it is. Next up is weekend chat, and even though I say weekend chat, you might be interviewing on like a Wednesday. And if you are interviewing on a Wednesday and not a Monday or not a Friday, that's fine. You're just going to talk about the day before. This one is super easy to scaffold. I have a video on my channel where I share 7 or 8 different ways you can weekend chat. But the gist is you're going to talk about what they did yesterday. And depending on who's in front of you, you're going to give them a ton of scaffolding and support, or you're going to give them minimal scaffolding and support. The next 2 demo lesson ideas I have for you are some of my favorite activities, but you're going to want to verify that you have technology access before you do these. If you know you have access to a projector and the internet, then keep on listening. So one option is to do Musica Miércoles on whatever day of the week. So if you're not familiar with this weekly routine, this idea comes from Mis Clases Locas, and I've shared about how I like to use it on my classes over on my blog as well. You watch a video and listen to the songs, and then you're just going to talk about it. And again, you can scaffold this very easily. It could be something as simple as, ¿Te gusta la canción o no? ¿Qué piensas? And then having a quick discussion. How many people like the song? How many people do not like the song? It could be, would you like to go to the places that you see in this video? The questions that you ask about the video are going to depend on the video. Check out my blog post on Musica Miércoles for more ideas, but it's again a really easy and engaging option you can do. Last but not least, this one maybe is not for the faint of heart, but it's definitely a good one if you are working with adults and you know you're going to be working with adults. The reason why I say you might want to do this if you're working with adults is because if you're going into a classroom of students that you don't know and have no relationship with, this is going to be hard. But if you've got like 7 adults that you're working with, pull one up and they're going to be your persona especial. If you're not familiar with special person interviews, this is created by Bryce Hedstrom, and basically you're going to make that person the star of the show, and you're going to ask them questions about what they like or dislike in Spanish, things about themselves. Again, what questions you ask can vary, and if you are doing this with somebody who doesn't speak Spanish, it's okay. That's why I said make sure you have a slide or a presentation or something. I have shared tips for how to do this with an admin on my blog because it's my favorite way to start the special person interview. So you can totally do this whether or not the admins speak any Spanish. You just want to make sure that you use some slides to really support them and be successful. And if we're talking about a formative assessment to kind of wrap up special person interviews, you can do a write and discuss like I mentioned at the beginning, or I will sometimes just have them do a timed write. And I give them a slide of sentence starters to let them go, and then I just see what they remember. I do have several blog posts where I talk about special person interviews, so you could check that out if you wanted to learn more. Hopefully those gave you some good places to get started, and you could see how you could kind of scaffold up or down, and just be flexible based on whatever happens when you walk in. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to drop me a comment down below. And again, I do have a playlist full of teacher interview prep and demo lesson tips, so make sure you check that out here. All right, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.